Hello, my name is Justin Gaeta. I grew up on the Isle of Palms here in Charleston, South Carolina. Went to high school at Bishop England High School, college at the College of Charleston. I studied business administration. And then afterwards I went to India to do 6 months of volunteer work in a very small part of India called Orissa. During that time I had some of the best and worst experiences of my life. Some of the best being I was able to deliver U.S. aid food to a very small tribal community in the mountains. And that was just a really powerful experience to deliver some necessary food to a community that had recently suffered a wildfire that devastated about half of their village. A story about a bad experience that I had in India is one afternoon I went for a run just to stay in shape, and while running I stepped on a rock, a small rock, and it happened to break my foot. So at the time I was about 2 miles on my run and I had to hobble my way back past a whole bunch of Indians that didn't know what this white American was doing hobbling around. I went back to my house, got on the back of a motorcycle, and a friend drove me to a nearby house, somebody who happened to have a x-ray machine sitting in the middle of their house, and it was a very old x-ray machine, and I remember getting the x-rays and just wondering how much cancer I was going to get from being exposed to these x-rays. I have a wonderful daughter named Nora. She's 10 months old. And my wife is just fantastic. She's the best mom ever. My wife and I met after I came back from India. I was living on my sailboat in the Ashley Harborage Marina, and my wife was a student at the College of Charleston. She would come sailing with me often, and we'd go on a lot of fun trips. One story I like to tell is we had been dating for about 4 months. And we decided to sail from Charleston down to the Florida Keys. And the first night we took off from Charleston, there was a storm on our heels, and we were out racing it for a good bit, but at about 4 a.m. and 25 miles offshore, we got hit by a storm. Fortunately, we were prepared for it. The waves weren't too bad. The winds were pretty heavy, but there was some torrential downpour. So her and I stayed up for about 30 hours straight, just manning the helm. And if you can get through an experience like that, I think that's a good preparation for marriage. I currently work for a company called Saxton Woods. It's a recent startup. It's just myself and one other individual with 30 plus years experience in aviation, and we provide lead generation and lead nurturing to aviation and marine business-to-business industries. Just a few observations and preferences on communication channels. We live in a highly connected technological world. People can be accessed across the world in a variety of different ways. For myself, I don't mind using email, phone calls. I prefer face-to-face if I'm doing a lot of creative exercises or if it's a particularly important client meeting. Some communication preferences I don't like. I really don't prefer communicating via social media. When people send me LinkedIn messages or messages on Facebook, I often try to transition them into the proper, email channel. I feel like you can convey more, and you have a lot more flexibility when you communicate via email versus, perhaps some social media inbound messaging. My personality preference, in terms of the DISC personality assessment, I'm a high D, which is dominance, and just following that is an I, which is influence. I have an inspirational pattern, and just to read off just a couple of things about an inspirational pattern, some goals that inspirational people have in common. They like to control their environment or an audience. Some fears is weak behavior, and the value that they bring to the organization is they act as a people mover, and I think this is very true for my personality as well. I look forward to viewing each of your video introductions, and I look forward to communicating with you for the rest of this class. Thank you.